Hello everybody, this is Mike. Okay, so I love attacking irrational beliefs that keep us from feeling good, keep us from feeling better. It's the only reason I'm here. I'm here, I do this number one because I enjoy it. It helps me. And this is, kind of what I do on my other channel and what I do for a living, among other things, is I help people fight against their own self-sabotage, their own denial. And it is a fight. Make no mistake, it is a fight. If you've been in a relationship with a destructive, borderline, narcissist, histrionic, you pick your cluster B personality. If you want to heal, you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight for your sanity, for your awareness. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the denial. I know that what you really want me to talk about is the borderline, and how messed up they are, and what they do, and why they do this, and why they do that. And you want to maybe hear me go on into a big, long story about what my borderline did, and that's why when they were kids, and you don't understand their... I know that's what you want me to do, and trust me, at some point I will. If not in this video, I will in others, because it's important for us to understand, because it's so confusing, that whole cluster B personality thing. So before I go any further, if you're new to my channel, if you're not new to my channel, forgive me for repeating myself again, but if you're new to my channel, this channel is dedicated to non-borderlines who have been in or are currently in a romantic relationship with a toxic borderline. You can also, if you've been with a narcissist or you pick it, your cluster B, this might be helpful for you as well. But let me be clear, I am not a therapist. I am just an average person who survived and healed from that toxic relationship. Now, if you are a borderline and you are in therapy and your relationships are going well, I'm not talking about you. If you are a partner of a borderline or a family member and you get along great with your borderline and you don't have any of these problems and you think I'm being too harsh, I'm not talking about you either. I'm talking about the relationships that we do know that are very toxic. I'm talking about borderlines who, for whatever reason, whether they're in or out of therapy, diagnosed or not, for whatever reason, if they do not yet have the ability to manage their symptoms, the damage that it causes the other person. This channel is for those people. I'm not here to, against what many people will say, I'm not here to stigmatize borderlines at all. In fact, I would say that I have tremendous empathy for them. I believe I have a very good understanding of what they've gone through, and I do not judge them for their behavior. If I were in their position, having lived through what they lived through and deal what they deal with, I know that I would do exactly the same thing. That doesn't mean I want to date one anymore. What has been pushed under the rug in all of this, in this online environment, is that the non-borderlines who date them end up tremendously damaged, like, wounded, seemingly beyond repair. And they limp through life, sometimes for decades. And what we've found out is that this pain and this infection of this toxic environment stays with you. It does not go away. And unless you do the work to get help, to learn how to heal yourself, then at the very least you will carry the pain of that relationship with you into your life, and very likely you'll attract another one as bad or worse. Freudian slip. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Did you see the unconscious slip? There's an unconscious part of me that must want that must think that's fun. I mean, who can deny that the love bombing isn't a great thing to experience? I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. It's one of the greatest drugs out there. But like crack cocaine or meth, it'll rot your teeth out if you do it for too long. In this case, teeth means your soul. It'll just rot you out. So I want to talk about the denial. So if you are seeking to recover from your toxic relationship with your borderline or your narcissist or whatever it is, if you're seeking to recover, there are, I'm going to say three things. Usually I say there's two things you need to understand. And if you don't understand these two things, it's going to be virtually impossible to recover. So the first one is you have to accept in your deepest essence of yourself that your borderline has a mental illness. The whole reason why I stress mental illness, because if they just had some really serious emotional issues, there would be hope. Because if you can just get them into therapy and get them to talk about their stuff, and they'll heal, and then they'll... But if they have a mental illness that prevents them, and this is the sad part, the mental illness of borderline personality disorder, what defines it as borderline personality disorder is that they are in fact incapable of creating a bond, and they are incapable of staying with you. If they bond with you, if you give them what they desperately are asking for and you desperately want to give them, and you are successful, they will split on you. That's what the mental illness is about. If you don't accept that part, that they have a mental illness and that it is hopeless to have what it is you want from them, you are bound for pain in and out of the relationship. Because there's a thing that happens with the cognitive dissonance and the repetition compulsion, and what I call tipping your canoe over, that happens inside of the relationship that doesn't fix itself just because the relationship has, quote, ended. And they never end. There's never really an ending. It's just you got discarded. That's all that happened. But the nature of the discard is usually so confusing and so tremendously hurtful that the cognitive dissonance, the repetition compulsion, all the other stuff that literally is going on in your brain, combined with whatever else you bring into it, you can't just choose to walk away. You just can't. I'm with you. You can't walk away. And so this creates a denial. It creates, first of all, I didn't get to the three because, as you know, I always go off on tangents. So let me finish the three things you need to know. First is they have a mental illness. They're not just damaged. They have a mental illness that forbids them from connecting with you without hurting you. Two, that once you have gotten involved with the borderline, even if it's a short amount of time, you are infected. It's like getting infected with a zombie virus. Forgive me, borderlines, you're not zombies, but it feels like that to us. We feel like we turn into zombies. You get bitten, and just because you haven't been bit anymore, and you're gonna just rest it, and you're gonna keep it out of the sun and put some alcohol on it, doesn't change the fact you're infected. It's in your bloodstream, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And because of that, number two is you need help. If you don't get help, it's gonna get worse. And you'll end up back with the same one or with another one or something. Now I'm going to add number three. This is, again, the three things you need to realize if you want to just begin the process of healing. So number three is you have to realize that part of the infection is denial. Denial is part of it. You can't say, yeah, no, I'm aware she was a borderline and yeah, it was really toxic and I'm out of it now, but now I know what's going on and I'm going to be okay. I mean, the likelihood of that is, no, you're going to hear everybody say that. I said that. Everybody's going to say that. How do I know? All I have to do is just be on this channel for any length of time, and no shortage of comments come in. Every time I come on, I am battling your denial, and I'm happy to do that. Let me see. Did I turn the sound on? Yes, I did. I forget to turn the sound on. I'm here to battle your denial. I am not here to placate you. I'm not here to be a soft, safe to land, although if I can, I will. I am here to battle your denial, and it's okay with me if you hate my guts. If 9 of you hate my guts and 1 of you gets it, it's worth it to me. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a therapist, and you should be happy that I'm not a therapist. Because what a therapist will do, and this is what they should do, a therapist is going to help you in your denial, in your delusion. The therapist is not going to destroy your delusion because you'll crumble and you'll walk out and you won't get help. So they'll sort of pussyfoot around with your denial and with your delusion and help you sit with it until you realize that it doesn't smell so good and maybe there's another way out, and then they'll slowly work to help you overcome your denial. I'm not going to do that. I'm like the vampire fighters. I'm going to throw a mirror right up in front of you so you can face your denial. But denial is part of it. So you need to understand, if you want to heal, that your beloved, your second half, your soulmate, your what do they call that? Your twin flame. Your twin flame has a mental illness. They can't ever, ever, ever love you. Ever. It won't happen. It's hopeless. That knowledge won't be enough to help you. So second is, you're going to have to realize that your infection, your addiction to them, cognitive dissonance, repetition compulsion, obsession, what do they call it? Ruminating, the euphemism. That's going to keep you pulling you back into them. And you won't have a mental defense. You won't have any mental defense when they come back to hoover you. I should write that down. Remember that phrase. You won't have any mental defense against them hoovering you because you've been infected. They marked you. It's a really wonderful thing. They mark you and then they go off and do something else, and they know they got some prey back at the den. Big cats, or I guess all cats. Maybe bears do it too. They go and they kill their prey and they drag it somewhere and they bury it and they come back for it later. I mean, we're kind of laughing at it, but is that really too far from the truth? It's not. They kill you, they bury you under their devaluation, but they keep you around. All right, now I'm going to launch into a story about my borderline ex. My borderline ex, when I met her, she actually reached out to me, on OkCupid, and, threw out the bait, telling me, you're the one, I've read your profile and I know, and my intuition is always right, magical thinking, you're the one, and blah, blah, blah. And then, but she said, but listen, I can't do anything about it now because I'm breaking up with my boyfriend and I'm moving back in with him, but that's only to give closure, and then I'm going to come for you. And I went, whatever. And then, of course, I met her, and then, because of what was going on in my life and my codependence, I was hooked. And, oh, she's the one. And then what do you think happened when I was no longer a tasty morsel? When she had ghosted me and disappeared and was doing all kinds of stuff. Oh, magically, the boyfriend who punched her in the face, I keep hearing about how he punched her or kicked her or something. He magically ended up spending the night at her place, but they didn't have sex. But I don't remember what happened. It's because he was there. He had been, he'd been destroyed and devalued, and he had been buried underneath a log somewhere. And when she was bored with me, she went back and dug him up, pulled him out. That's what's going to happen to you. When they come back to hoover you, in fact, you're waiting. If you've been with a borderline and you've been devalued and buried under a log somewhere, your entire existence revolves around when are they going to come and take you back. I mean, you've been sitting there, you're probably now tenderized, you've been rotting for a while, right? You've been rotting for a while, you've been ruminating, and you've been rotting on the inside. You're a lot more malleable now, because when they come back, you've been thinking about it. You've figured it out. You've got it all figured out. You've been thinking about what to say, what not to say, how I'm going to get her to do this. I know that she got triggered by that, and if I can get her to do this, and I almost had her there, and then if she does, and if I can just, and yeah, and then she comes back. When you think, sometimes when you think I'm ready to move on, that's when they come back. They come back. It's the title of the movie. The title of the horror movie, They Come Back. But you are filled with denial. It's not as bad as it really is. You tell yourself it's not as bad as it really is. And even when you're out, when you're divorced, when you're out, and you're in your own life, dating somebody else even, you're in denial about them. I mean, I don't think about them at all. So let me get into a comment, because I love your comments. Feel free to leave them. And as always, just be prepared if you leave, a good-sized comment, a bunch of them, and then I assume you're ready to have the whole world listen to your story, because the whole world can see it anyway. If you don't want me to use your comment and learn from it and share it with others, then don't leave one. So, I believe I interacted with this person once before. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I did. And I'm pretty sure that I said something to the effect, because I think the person was asking me, what does my ex want from me? They're doing this and they're doing that. And I think I said something to the effect of, who cares what they're doing? Forget about them and work on yourself. To which point, I think it's the same person, got upset and said, I may have asked you for a reason. And I think I may have come back and said, that's not my job I'm not a jukebox. I'm going to respond however I want. You don't have to like it. You don't like it, go somewhere else. And they came back. So this person says, same kind of question. So here's the denial and the perseverance. Have you heard that word? Perseverance? There's some people, I think you say it to people who have, like autistic or something like that. And it's when they keep saying the same thing or asking the same thing and they won't let it go. And you say, you're perseverating. Codependents can perseverate. They can't let it go. So this person, assuming I'm right, I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. This person says, Mike, can you tell me what you think of my ex sending me, X is capitalized. There's a Freudian slip there for you. It means he thinks his ex is God. Can you tell me what you think of my ex sending me fake Instagram account to be friends? What is she actually looking for with these childish ways and games? She's currently living with her ex-husband and, from my understanding, living her new life. Currently, I've blocked her on all levels that I thought. However, this is something she's done now about 3 times within the last 2 weeks. Not sure what is going on in her mindset right now. Or what do you think she's trying to accomplish? Thank you for all your help. This is a very real thing. I don't want to make fun of that, especially when you've been married. I mean, borderlines and narcissists, I mean, they won't let go. If they can smell, they've bitten you and they've infected you with the borderline bacteria, and the bacteria is starting to rot you on the inside. It's really making you nice and tender and juicy. They can smell it. And they won't let up. They're not going to miss out on a good meal. So that's a very real thing. I mean, forgive me, borderlines. I'm kind of full of myself today, and I'm having fun. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. But this is a very real thing. They can stalk you, and they won't let you go. So I don't want to minimize that part. So you can imagine my response, because he's asked 3 or 4 times, what is she really thinking? What does she really want? And I respond and I say, so your ex is a borderline. I assume you left the relationship because it was toxic for you. I assume her behavior was irrational and hurtful. Then what difference does it make what her intentions are? How does that knowledge help you? You already know that whatever her intentions are, if you choose to engage with her, it will result in your pain. Your need to understand her intentions, and I should have put that in quotes, is nothing more than your desire to get back together with her. So just keep your boundaries, listen to your therapist and your sponsor, work on yourself and let go. So if you're not clear on what I'm talking about here, the 3 things that I do, if you click the join button, by the way, somebody said, what's the link? And I said, there isn't one. And now I found that there is a link. And I'll put that here. Here's the link to the join button. Is that it? No, that's not it. I'll do that at some point. Anyway, I won't do that right now. The 3 things you need to do to recover from the infection. 3 things. If you don't do these 3 things, I will have no sympathy for you. I'll have empathy and compassion, but I'll have no sympathy for you. 1, therapy. You need to talk with a therapist who can help you understand your unconscious childhood issues that drove you to the borderline in the first place. 2, coda.org. Work the 12 steps. Don't just go to a meeting, get a sponsor, and work the 12 steps. 3, daily meditation. In my experience, you need all 3 of them. 1 of them might be helpful. 2 of them are pretty good. All 3 is like a multi-spectrum antibiotic. If I had to just pick one, I would pick CODA. I would just work the steps of coda.org, CODA.org. What do I do when I get there? Just go to an online Zoom meeting, raise your virtual hand and say, I'm new, I need a sponsor to walk me through the steps. And then just deal with all the stuff that you're not going to like about it. It's just part of the deal. Your denial will come up really fast. Denial is going to give you all kinds of reasons why you don't need to go to therapy, why you can still be with them. I mean, last time I was on here, that's what I was talking about with people. They wanted to argue with me about, but what if I want to stay with them? And I'm like, what are you doing on this channel if you want to stay with them? What are you doing researching borderline personality disorder if you want to stay with them? Obviously, a part of you doesn't. You're in pain, right? I've never heard somebody say, no, it's the best relationship I ever had. Why would I want to not do that? Actually, one guy has said that, and he is without a doubt a covert narcissist. And he comes up on the channel. I tell him to his face he's a covert narcissist, and he doesn't blink. He still keeps coming up and bragging about how he's abusing and manipulating his borderline. He doesn't say that. He says it in other ways, but that's what he's saying. He's saying, yeah, I manipulated her this way, and I manipulated her like that, and he's a really sick narcissist. But everybody else, you're in pain, and there's a part of you that wants to get out. So you wouldn't be on here if you didn't want to get out. So I said that, which was the same thing I said to him last time when he asked the same question. And then he got upset, assuming it's him. He got upset and said, I might have had a reason to do it and blah, blah, blah. And when, of course, I told you, I said, I'm not here to answer the way you want. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to be helpful for you. You can take it or leave it. I'm okay with any of it. So he responds to my questions and he says, yes, absolutely. She was diagnosed with it. I guess borderline personality disorder. Plus a lot more. Well, that's only going to add to the drama, and you're going to have more nasty bacteria. You're going to need, if she has more than just BPD, you're going to need a broad spectrum antibiotic for that nasty infection. He says, this is something that caught me off guard. So you were the borderline, This is the first time you've been caught off guard? Now? Come on, you've been with a borderline. You've been married to one, according to you. You've been caught off guard every possible chance. That's what they do. That's the thing that makes them so damaging. They catch you off guard. In fact, their mental illness is genius. Hear what I said, borderlines? It's not you. You're not an evil genius. Your mental illnesses. The mental illness is genius at catching both of you off guard. They're caught off guard all the time, by the way. Those of you who are with borderlines and you want to make them out to be evil geniuses, don't get me wrong, they're very hurtful. They can be very manipulative and they can be very psychopathic. I'm not saying that they're not, but trust me, they're caught off guard. They don't see it coming. They believe it. When they love you, they believe it. They believe that they've finally found it. It's going to be okay, and it will be okay forever. And when their switch flips on them, they are just as caught off guard as you. But he's been caught off guard all of a sudden. He knows that she's a borderline. He knows that she's going to stalk him, that she's going to try and hoover him. He already knows this, and he's pretending like he's caught off guard. Anyway, the guy who wrote this, I'm not attacking you personally. I hope you're having fun with it. I'm trying to hold the mirror up to you so you can see the denial. We all have it. I had it. People on here have it. This is part of the zombie virus. It's a zombie virus that tells you you don't have it. When you get a cold or the flu, you know it. It doesn't try and pretend it's not there. It's like, oh my God, and it just you know you got it. When you get infected by this borderline, it's not that bad. Okay, it's swollen up and it's pussing, but it'll be all right. Just a good night's sleep and maybe a little bit of mercurochrome and it'll be all right. It's okay. No, I can handle it. I've almost, trust me, I've got her. We're going to go to therapy and we talked about it last night. And what do you mean you're breaking up with me? Hello? Denial. We all get it. Just accept that. Just accept that you're in denial. I don't care who you are. Just accept that you're in denial. A part of you is. Even a part of me is still in denial. Even a part of me still when, if I'm talking with you guys or I think about it, something will pop in my head and go, and then I have to tell myself, are you kidding? Do you remember what she said, the last thing she did to you? Are you crazy? So I still need to keep inoculating myself as well. I still need to work the 12 steps. I still need to go to therapy. I still need to talk to people. I still have that. I think I'm a hell of a lot better off than I was. I believe that I'm in a state of recovery from that relationship, but nobody's completely cured of this denial thing. Once you've gotten bit, it never really goes away. The good news is you never have to listen to it. So he says, as I said, it caught him off guard because I'm private on my Instagram. However, she used my cell number. The point is he's going to talk about her. He hasn't talked about himself once. He's going to talk about her, what she's doing, and he wants me to tell him what her real motivation is, like it's not obvious. So now I had to block any requests coming in using my cell. So good for him, he's blocking her. So good for him on doing that. She, as my soon-to-be ex-wife, again, X is capital. That's a Freudian slip right there. He thinks she's God. She, as soon-to-be my ex-wife, unfortunately knows everything about me. He secretly likes that. I know because I've been there. He secretly likes that she knows everything about him. Makes him feel known, it makes him feel important, makes him feel like he exists. Part of what happens, this is what I talked about last time, somebody said, I don't know what's worse. I've been away from mine for 2 years and I don't know if it's worse being alone or being with them. Being alone is horrible because then you don't have any worth. You feel your worth comes from playing whatever your role is. He's still playing his role. It's good that he's away from her. I'm willing to bet that she left him, not the other way around. But I'm glad that he's trying to block her and that he's going to get a divorce. I think that's great. But I'm telling you, based on what I'm seeing here, if she walked up and knocked on the door and said, I've changed my mind, he would let her right back in. It would be like nothing ever stopped. I could be wrong. She as soon as my soon-to-be ex-wife, unfortunately knows everything about me. I had to freeze my credit, and last week she even tried to open a small loan in my name. Good for you. I'm glad you did that. Glad to say credit was frozen. I'm trying to be as cautious as possible. Good for you. However, seems like she keeps trying something for me to try and reach out to her. This is shocking to you? You never heard the word hoover before? I will not, however, it's why I asked what is her intentions. No, that's not why you asked what her intentions are. When the shark is swimming towards you and you see the dorsal fin, do you wonder what the intentions of the shark is? It doesn't matter. The shark is going to eat you. It's going to end up with you dead. It's going to hurt. The shark is going to do what a shark does. The borderline is going to do what a borderline does. Now, the borderline has a mental illness, which means that they do things contrary to what they consciously think they want. Like, they want to marry you. They want to be with you forever. They love you. You're the best. They consciously feel that, and then they do the opposite. They devalue you, destroy the relationship. And, as I understand it, based on what borderlines have told me, is that a lot of them know it. They know that they're destroying the best thing they've ever had, and they can't stop themselves. So what is this nonsense about wanting to know what she's thinking? You don't want to know what she's thinking. You want me to tell you that she wants you back. Here's what you want me to say. What you want me to say, what you're hoping I'll say, is, she's coming back for you. She's going to hoover you back. She's in pain. She misses you. She realizes you're the one, but don't do it. Don't do it. Don't get back with her. Don't. She wants to, she's going to idealize you again. Oh my God, don't let her do that. You have to not get back with her. You have to not get back with her. That's what you want me to say. You want me to say that because the operative phrase in there is you want me to tell you that she wants you back. Because otherwise, again, what difference does it make what she wants? I mean, objectively speaking, I know why you want to know. I wanted to know too. I can remember after it was all over, I can remember thinking of all the different ways, what could I do to get her back? What is she thinking about? Is she thinking about me? Does she want to be with me? Is she going to get back together with me? Is she going to call me? I'm not going to let her back. I'm not going to do it. But if she did, I would tell her, you know what I would tell her? I would tell her that she has to do this and she has to do that. And I would tell her this, but I'm not going to, but I would. If she knocked on the door right now in a negligee with a vibrator and some sex toys, I would tell her that I'm not getting back together with her, but if I did, I would only have sex with her that one time, just that one time, and then and I wouldn't fall in love with her. I wouldn't fall in love with her. That's what I would do. In fact, I'm going to text her right now, and I'm going to tell her exactly what I'm not going to do. Come on. This is what's happening when you ask the question, what are her intentions? This is what's going on inside of you. Do you think I can't see? Do you think I haven't been there? I mean, I know your denial. You've talked yourself out of thinking that. You can give yourself whatever line of, nonsense in order to keep you in it. But the rest of us know exactly what the hell is going on. We've been there, or we're still there. You think this is the other thing. We think we're all so unique. And the favorite phrase of the codependent is, it's complicated. Meaning, I'm different than everybody else. This is the only situation that this kind of thing in a relationship has ever happened. It's complicated, it's unique. And normally, under normal circumstances, I'd have to go no contact. But it's complicated. No, it's not complicated. You're addicted. You're in denial, you're in delusion, and the virus is getting inside your brain, and the borderline virus has got inside your brain. She's got you. She infected you. She's done her magic on you. And you're being a good prey that she's stuffed under. She's looking under the log to see where she put the carcass. Well, didn't I? I swear I put his carcass right under. Was it that log? No, that's the other guy. Is it under that log? You got to laugh about this stuff, guys. If you don't laugh about it, it'll kill you. That's why I'm having so much fun. So let's see, what else? Glad to say my credit was frozen. I'm trying to be as cautious as possible. However, seems like she keeps trying something for me to try and reach out to her. I will not, however, it's why I asked what is her intention. She made this decision. She is currently living with her ex, and I'm trying extremely hard to just be in peace. That I believe. I'm not going to make fun of that. I believe you. I believe you're trying everything. You're wiping away the tears. I can remember, one of the most painful experiences of my entire life. I will never forget this moment. I did have the love of my life. I did have one of what we thought we wanted from our borderlines, what we thought our borderlines were going to give us. I did have that. And unfortunately, she passed away. And I had on my computer, I had some video of her. And I don't remember where or how or what I was doing, but I was in the worst state I could be. It was almost a year ago to the day. It was in between Christmas and New Year's, and I was in the worst hell of my life. When you see the very first videos that I made, that was when it was at that time, and I was in so much pain. The woman that I loved, the woman that I moved down to be with, and I was in this big empty house with no furniture, no air conditioning, in the middle of summer in Australia, and I didn't even have internet. And I was just, all I had was, I had a folding camping chair and a folding camping table. And I had, I had bought that, and I had bought a mattress. And I was miserable. And everybody around me was having Christmas parties and New Year's parties and kids, and everybody loved each other, and I was so miserable. All I could think about was her and what she had done, and how the hell did I end up there? And I was dying. And it just overwhelmed me, and I broke down into tears. And that kind of, that heaving that comes when you cry, and you heave from the inside, that infantile, it was one of those. And I don't know what happened. I was on my computer, and I hit a button, and my soulmate who passed away, her video came up, and she looked at me and waved and smiled and was like, somebody actually did love me. I was worth loving. And you think about it. We get obsessed with these people who did nothing but abuse us, devalue us, hurt us in the most intimate way. There's the pain that you get from a borderline or an NPD when they devalue you. It's not just like somebody was mean to you or somebody rejected you. It's on a whole other level. It's the deepest level of hurt. Their mental illness is brilliant at it. I mean, it's genius. Now, bear in mind, it's happening to them as well. In case you don't realize it. They're suffering from it. They suffer from it at least as bad as you, probably worse. But the genius of it is that their mental illness will convince them that you are the one, you're the knight in shining armor who is going to finally love them. And they're finally going to get love and be seen, literally for the first time in their existence. They've never been seen. Their parents never saw them. Ever. And they are looking at you with those big, giant, blue puppy dog eyes, and you sense that honesty and that purity in them. And their mental illness is setting them up. It's really quite cruel. The cruelty you experience, they also experience. It's setting them up. And when you respond to that innocent purity of that beautiful little infant, which is what they are, the purest, most innocent love, and you can't help but love them. You can't help it. How can you not? I mean, imagine finding an abandoned little baby. I mean, you have to go pick it up and cradle it and take care of it. Oh my God. And you treat it with such tenderness and such love, and you're like, and you can't imagine this little, I mean, it doesn't even enter your mind, this little infant is going to harm you. It never even enters your mind. They don't have claws, they don't have fangs, they're not like, cats or dogs or something. They're these helpless little innocent people that have nothing but love. And you give them that love, and then their mental illness has figured out your deepest, darkest, most vulnerable issues. And they're going to bring that out, and then they're going to eviscerate you. The psychopath will come out. Sam Vaknin, I think his name is, brilliant. He says that borderlines are covert psychopaths. Covert doesn't mean that they're psychopaths pretending to be something else. It means that it's a secondary. He calls it actually secondary psychopaths. And what happens is, he also says that they're more akin to people with multiple personalities, or identity dissociation disorder or something like that. They don't see it coming either. But the brilliant thing about what their mental illness does is that when they devalue you, based on how much intimacy you have given them, and if you've been with them for years, each time they come at you, they open you up a little more, and a little more, and a little more, and a little more. You're forced to give more and more of your vulnerability. You're forced to give more and more of yourself in order to keep, each time that they idealize you, it requires more intimacy and vulnerability from you. And each time they do that, they get deeper into your vulnerability. They intuit more about you and what makes you tick. And then when they devalue you, that's where they're going to hit. They're going to hit you at the most vulnerable place they can, because they honestly believe you're trying to kill them. And I mean that without, I'm not, lots of times I'm being hyperbolic. I'm not being hyperbolic there. And if you're with a borderline, you need to understand that. That's why they do what they do. And that is guaranteed. It is a guaranteed thing. It will happen. Because for them, if their psychopathic self-defense mechanism was taken away, it would kill them. You understand that? That's who you're trying to have a relationship with. That's who you're trying to get to love you. And the ironic thing is that the codependents need love so badly. They need nurturing and healing. They need mother's unconditional love so badly. That's the ironic thing. And you're going after the person who needs it even more than you do and will destroy you. They can't help it. I'm telling you that so that you can wake up and go, there's no hope here. So you can get out. So that you can get past your denial. So this individual is in denial. That's why he keeps asking me the same question. This is the second time that he's reached out and asked me this question. What is her intentions? What is it that she really wants? Doesn't matter. Because you're asking me the question as though if I tell you what she consciously wants, that's somehow going to mean something, and it doesn't. She consciously wants you to take care of her. You want to know what she wants? She wants you to save her. She wants you to swoop down and pick her up. She's going to come limping back from whatever relationship didn't work. And or she wants to keep you, she wants to keep you as a supply ready and available for when she does need you, because she will. And part of her knows that. And she's going to come back with the absolute conviction that you're going to be the one who's finally, I realize now that you're the one, and you're going to, and she means every word of it. And you're going to take her in, and she's going to destroy you. She's going to punish you for it. And if you were able to do what you think you want to do, which is take away their psychopathic defense mechanism, it would kill them. I've told you this before, but it bears repeating. When infants do not get, I mean, it makes me want to cry every time I say it. When infants do not get love and nurturing and attention, they die. You can abuse a kid, you can beat a kid, you can shame a kid, you can do all kinds of horrible things. You can abuse that I won't even mention. You can do that. That won't kill them. Not loving them, not seeing them, not engaging with them, not interacting with them, it kills them. That king in middle-aged English middle-aged king. He wasn't middle-aged. He was maybe he was in the Middle Ages. He sent off a bunch of orphaned infants onto an island with a bunch of nuns, and he told the nuns under pain of death, do not interact with them, do not speak with these babies, do not do anything except wipe their ass, feed them, and keep them warm. Every single one of those infants died. It's horrible. So the point being, now that you're thinking, oh my God, I need to go save them. No, you can't. That's the sad, really sad, ironic part. You cannot save them. Because what happens, maybe you don't understand this, but what happens when you love them, like when you really love them, not when you're engaged in all of the, the psychodrama that both of you try and do to divert yourselves from your issues, but when you honestly do just love them, what ends up happening is that love penetrates at some point. It penetrates, and what ends up happening is they feel impending death that almost got them. They were abandoned, neglected to such a degree that they were this close to dying. I mean, 11% of them commit suicide. There's a reason for that. And you're accelerating it. When you love them, you're accelerating that within them. This is why the only hope for them is if they get therapy. And if they spend 10 years in therapy, maybe they'll be able to then self-love and individuate. The mechanism inside of them will always be broken. It's never going to change. But when you try to engage and love them when they're haven't got whatever it is they get out of therapy, I don't even know what that is. When you try and engage and you bypass the psychopath and you get there and the love hits, it starts to kill them. And they must defend their life, and they attack the most vicious way they possibly can, because if they don't destroy you in the worst way, they really honestly feel like you will kill them with your love. I hope you can understand that. So borderlines, I don't stigmatize you at all. If there was one thing in the world I would cure, it would be that. I would snap my fingers and make that go away. I can't imagine anything more horrific to deal with. I'm sure there are some just as horrific, but I'm not aware of it. So here's where we get to the denial of my friend here. Now his denial is going to come in. He says, she's currently living with her ex, and I'm trying extremely hard just to be in peace. Again, I believe that. However, it's almost impossible. I believe that too. You're addicted. You're infected. Of course you're not in peace. And that's why I tell people you got to do those three things. You got to do therapy, work the 12 steps of Coda, and daily meditation. That's the antibiotic you got to take every day, 3 times a day, in order to, over a certain length of time to get rid of that infection. If you stop taking your medication halfway through, what happens? The infection gets even harder to get rid of. You got to get another kind of antibiotic. This is the denial. He says, I'm trying extremely hard just to be in peace. However, it's almost impossible. And then the denial kicks in. And he's going to try and hoodwink me into his denial. In fact, he's going to weave me into his denial by trying to get me to engage with him in his illness while he gets to tell himself, no, I'm talking with this guy on YouTube who does this channel about helping, and I'm doing all the things that he says, which he's not. And he gets to weave this denial and this delusion. And he says, I can't afford a therapist. Wish I could with these impactful times. Now, I keep hearing this and I keep telling people, look, I already know that you could get free therapy. I'm telling you, these are the 3 things. They're all free. Now, I pay for my therapist. You can't afford a therapist. There isn't one in your local neighborhood. I've said time and again, if you put the effort into finding free therapy, you can find it. I was thinking that as I was reading, and I said, you know what, right now I'm going to take my own advice. Somebody had given me links and I didn't do anything with them. And I went and I just typed in free online therapy. And just I spent 2 minutes and I found 2 or 3 different things. I was going to put a link and I said, hell, I mean, anybody watching this can type in that. And that was just 2 minutes. I didn't even put any real effort into it. If I had really looked at all the different pages, I would have found something. So please don't blow smoke up my ass. You need a therapist and you can't afford it? Great. Put the effort in to find one. There's free stuff online. How do I know? Because I found it. Took me less than 10 seconds to find it. So if you're telling me you can't afford therapy, it means you haven't done anything. You've done 0 to look for it. Which means you don't want it. Which means you're in denial. Which means you want to stay sick. Which means that you want to end up back with her, which is why you want me to tell you, what does she really think? What is her real intention? Because I'm flabbergasted. I mean, I don't get it. What does she want? I mean, I've been married with her and I've seen her hoover me back, but this time, I don't understand. I want to know what she wants, because if I know her intentions, I'll be able to get back together with her. I mean, I'll be able to stay away from her. Maybe fooling yourself. You're not fooling me. Then he talks about her again. Blah, blah, blah. Do you get it? The denial is part of it. And whenever the denial comes up, I'm going to tell you. You may not like it. You may get your feelings hurt. And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with you hurting the feelings of your borderline when you leave them. Because if everybody responded to them in that way and said, hey, your behavior is really hurtful to me. I care about you. I see that you're in pain, but I can't help you. You should go seek out help for borderline personality disorder. And they would, virtually assured they would get upset and deny that, and maybe they would deny it. But if everybody mirrored that back to them and didn't buy into it and didn't co-sign it, eventually a lot of them would get help a lot faster. Because they would say, you know, I really do want to have a relationship with people. Maybe I should go get help. All right, I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Let's see here. If you have a question, it helps me if you write the word question. Jacob Smith, just out of curiosity, how well would codependents work in a romantic relationship? Jacob, did you ask me that before? Because I've been asked that before. I don't know. I mean, my question is, why are you asking that? Are you asking that because you know a codependent and want to get together with them? Or is it that you're projecting that the codependent would treat you the way you were trying to treat your borderline and they'll come and get you? I mean, you know, the truth of the matter is that borderlines are codependents. It's just another form of codependence. Narcissists are codependents. So you're not a narcissist or a borderline. You just have the codependent part. You don't have the other part. So why do you want to get together with a codependent? Codependents don't want real relationships either. Sorry, you guys think you do. I know, because I'm one of you. You think you want a real relationship, but you don't. Until you start doing the work, until you start doing the therapy and the coda and the daily meditation. And then you can start to heal that, and then you can start looking for that. But until you do that, you really don't want a healthy relationship. You want drama, and you want to be distracted. I mean, you chased after a borderline. You chased after somebody who was pathologically incapable of giving you the least amount of intimacy. What makes you think that if you get together with a codependent that all of that craziness is going to go away inside of you? So just out of curiosity, I mean, you've already been with a codependent. They're called a borderline. You want to have another kind of codependent? I mean, you're going to end up with you might turn into the narcissist. They'll force you, and their need to have you be abusive to them, they might stimulate you to be narcissistic. That's what I think. I think we should stop trying to figure out who's going to fill the hole in us, and we should start to take care of ourselves, and then we can look for people who aren't codependent. That's my answer to your question. I don't know why you asked it, but that's the answer to my question. Gabriella. He says borderlines can become secondary psychopaths as dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, that's what I mean. The two are the same thing. It means multiple personalities. So they've got one personality, and both of the personalities are not real, by the way. The truth is, with a borderline, they have no true personality. There's no real person under there. There's nothing under the hat. That's what's so horrific about it. They are completely alone. They're alone because they don't have themselves. It's a black hole there. It's horrible. That's why your love never takes hold. No, that's why no matter what you do, it just falls into the black hole and disappears. So they have at least, I mean, they have facades, which is a whole other thing. You know, and again, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I'm remembering things that my borderline ex said, and she was basically telling me that this was what was going on with her. She had multiple personalities, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they do things and then can't remember what they did for weeks at a time sometimes. So they've got at least two false personalities. One is the infant seeking love, and the other one is the avenging psychopath. That's what you're dealing with. Evo, let's see what else. Evo says, exactly what I have experienced a year ago. They can't help it once abandonment is perceived. It's like an autopilot that's switched on, something takes over and all reason goes overboard. And in a lot of cases, they see it happening and they can't stop it. It must be horrible. Can you imagine? Can you imagine watching yourself, you know, destroy what you love the most and you can't stop it? The impulse is so strong. The need to feel the impulse of destroying it when you consciously know it's that person didn't mean that, didn't say that. How very sad. Makes me really sad for them. Let's see what else. Molly Riley. Are BPD and codependency often mixed up one for the other? No, they're both the same. BPDs are codependents. And non-BPD codependents are codependents. They're not mixed up one for the other. It's a codependent relationship. What are the key differences? I don't understand the question. Why are you asking this question? Are you not sure if you're borderline or not? It doesn't matter. I mean, you're a codependent. If you've been with a borderline, you're a codependent. And if you are a borderline, you were born codependent. I mean, isn't that true about infants? Infants are codependent. They can't function on their own. They need the love and approval of their life depends on the love and approval of their parents. So that's just like the purest state of codependency. We, if we're adults and we have it, we have sort of this morbid, warped form of the true form of codependency, which is what an infant has, a healthy infant. So I don't know why you need to know the key differences. If you're a borderline, you have the same emptiness inside of you that the codependent has. The codependent and the borderline come together because they have this need for love and approval and to be seen. Both borderlines and codependents came from a childhood where they had a transactional relationship with their parents. Now, every relationship after childhood is transactional. Every marriage, every job, every friendship, everything is transactional. People on dating sites say, I just want somebody to love me for who I am. And that's never going to happen. Nobody's ever going to love you for who you are. They're going to love you for what you do for them. Doesn't mean they won't have empathy. Doesn't mean they won't want to experience who you are, but that's not why they're going to marry you. You're never going to marry somebody because I saw you for who you were and I just want to be with you for who you are. That's not going to be it. There's going to be something else. It's going to be you meet their needs. Some needs or some desire or something like that. The only relationship, as I've said many times, the only relationship that is not transactional, where somebody loves somebody else 100% unconditionally with no strings attached and only loves you simply because you exist and for those things that you are, is a healthy mother. And the universe, if you want to get spiritual about it, the universe loves you exactly for who and what you are. If you want to get even more spiritual, then your ideal relationship with yourself is exactly that. I love myself exactly for who I am. I have all my thoughts, feelings, and impulses, and desires, and I accept all of it, and I don't act on any of them unless I've determined it's in mine and everybody else's best interest. That is a pure, loving, unconditional relationship with oneself, which then is projected onto the world. That's why the saints, who live in caves in the Himalayas, who are one with the universe and one with themselves, that's why they never judge anybody. This is the Jesus mythological, when, supposedly, I don't believe in Jesus, but the fictional Jesus character supposedly loves everybody. And he represents that person who is divine, who is God in the flesh, meaning he doesn't need anything. He's completely self-contained. He's fully individuated within himself. Then he doesn't react to anybody's projections or transferences or their desires or their feelings or judgments or anything. He has no reaction to that. He only sees them for who they are. And that is a symbolic expression of how you're supposed to be with yourself. And that's the exact opposite of what you got from your dysfunctional narcissistic parents. They told you your worth is transactional based on what you do for my specific narcissistic need. And if you've been with a borderline, that need changes. It's not consistent. It's not like if you do that one thing every day, it'll make them happy. No, whatever impulse is flying through them is exactly what they want. What they tell you to do one day, if you say, I need you to do this, and if you could just do that and get that right, it would be okay. You get it right and you do it exactly that, then the next day, and then the next day. That's the exact thing that you can't do. The one thing you can't do is that which yesterday they said you had to do. And that's, your parents did that as well. There was no consistency about who you were supposed to be. And so you've come to the conclusion that your worth is based on meeting whatever transaction they want from you based on their selfishness, based on their narcissism. And you take that into relationships, and of course, who's the perfect person to express that, to typify that, to symbolize that is the borderline. They're like the extreme version of everything. On the one hand, simultaneously, you're infantile need for acceptance and approval and love. You see that within them, so you project yourself onto them. And then at the same time, you get to transfer onto them when they idealize you, because then you can sense that your acceptance is transactional. It's not about you. And if you're a codependent and an actual healthy person comes along and wants to relate to you, you're going to flip out and run the other direction, because you don't know how to just be loved for who you are. You've never had that. There has to be some kind of transaction, or you don't have any worth. Your worth comes in the transaction. Being abused, being whatever the hell it is. So what are the differences? I mean, there isn't any difference. It's just two flavors of the exact same thing. What else? Let's see. Molly Ryle, do you recommend CODA for narcissist, BPD, and codependent? Well, CODA is just one of the 12-step groups. And the codependent, somebody who's not borderline, who's not cluster B, I recommend CODA. You could also try Al-Anon, or you could try, adult children of alcoholics. I mean, whatever specific flavor you are, don't overthink it. Get into one of them and then figure it out later. The 12 steps are the 12 steps. So it doesn't matter whether you're an Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon or Narcotics Anonymous or Codependence Anonymous. The 12 steps is what it's about. Brilliant. Modern psychotherapy has built so much off of the 12 steps, because they're the best way to retrain your brain and your brain chemistry, and give you the ability to take conscious contrary action, which is, by the way, what all religions teach. Buddhism is trying to teach the 12 steps. Buddhism, this whole idea of Zen meditation, of being one with yourself and watching one thought come up and go, oh, that's not me. Feeling an impulse or a desire and going, oh, that's not me. That's the ability to act consciously with compassion regardless of how you feel. It's what all religion is trying to get you to do. 12 steps is just a much more practical way, in my experience, to teach you how to do that in a real practical way. Do I recommend CODA for narcissist? I mean, I'm not a borderline. My experience with the borderline that I was with is that the 12 steps might be helpful, but it's not really gonna get in there and do what needs to get done. This is, whatever the therapy is that works, the DBT or whatever, I don't know what it is. But whatever that therapy is, that I think is what a borderline needs. A narcissist, I don't know that there is a therapy that exists for narcissists. I could be wrong about that. Sam Vaknin's the only, I guess that's his therapy, is he really got deep into himself and looked at his vulnerability. It must have been like hell. So I don't know. 12 steps can't hurt anybody. The only question is, are people able to be honest? The borderline, I don't know that they have the ability to just work the 12 steps and have it work. I think they need to go more surgically into themselves. I think the narcissist too. The codependent, if you don't have cluster B personality disorder, the 12 steps combined with therapy and combined with meditation, those three things can work. Hope I answered your question. And again, this is my opinion. Go and try it out. But I have no sympathy for people who don't try those three things. You got nothing to lose. None of them cost anything. Now that I've proven that therapy is free, if you put the time and effort into it, 5 minutes as it turns out, you can find free therapy. You don't like the free therapist you got, find another one. They're all over the place. Let's see what else. Cat G question. I have taken your advice with joining CODA and meditation. I find meditating almost impossible to concentrate. Any tips? I looked into chakra. Thank you. Well, I mean, did you click the join button? And if you don't know what if you look at the description on this video, you'll see a link. Go copy and paste that link and go join there. I teach you 2 very powerful meditations that I think help codependents think better. So that, if you want to ask my suggestion, I mean, it's right there staring you in the face. Click the join button. You want to go even deeper than that, you want to do a whole energy practice, a whole yoga, energy, meditation, mantra practice, then you can click on the 90-day challenge and look for Warrior 90-day challenge and do that. That's why I created those things, for those very reasons. Having said that, I don't demand that. You don't have to do those things. Just look for it. Here's the thing about meditation. There's thousands of styles of meditation. They're just different techniques to do the same thing. You can't sit there and empty your mind, neither can I. I talk about what Zen meditation is supposed to be. That doesn't mean that I do it. Mantra meditation is really good. Chanting Om Namah Shivaya, or whatever it is. That's a meditation. Mantra is designed to, you should get a mantra from a qualified Vedic astrologer. I do that. If you click on those things up there, I do that as well. But if you get one that vibrates to your mental wavelength, it'll get into your unconscious mind and make you conscious of all of your unconscious patterns, which is what meditation is all about. You don't have to sit there and try and empty your mind. You just focus on chanting the mantra, and you can be thinking about your borderline ex, or you can be thinking about your shopping thing. It doesn't matter. There's a visualization meditation. There's, I'm not talking about the visualization like, guided meditation. My experience with guided meditations is that they don't do anything. They don't really accomplish anything. So that's my experience. I wouldn't go that route. I mean, if you want entertainment or relaxation, go ahead. In terms of, you want the benefits of meditation, yeah, guided meditation. Except for mine, I have a couple of guided meditations and I think I'm pretty amazing, but that's, again, I'm biased. There's Qigong, there's Tai Chi, there's yoga. This is what yoga is all about. The whole point of yoga, by the way, like when you go to Hatha yoga, and we don't know that, and I could get into all that, I talk about that on my other channel, but the whole Hatha yoga thing of stretching and all that was designed to prepare the body and the nervous system to meditate. But they don't teach that. That's because people who went to India and learned it came back before they actually learned what, the entire yogic tradition. They only got part of it. And then, to make it even worse, they superficialize it and turn it into this exercise routine. And, I'm okay with that. I'm not against any of that, but that's not what yoga is. So there's yoga, there's swimming, there's walking in the woods. I mean, there's just no shortage of ways to meditate. The stuff that I do really intense energy work and qigong, and I do this shamanic martial art kind of thing with forms and all that, and on rituals, and I do all that because the energy, I get high off the energy, and then I get to this empty state of mind, and then I can be in that state of emptiness. But like you, I can't just close my eyes and empty my mind. So when people say I can't meditate, you just haven't found the meditation that works for you. Here's the thing, if you're serious about anything, and in this case, if you're serious about healing, you've got to go after it with everything that you have. Absolutely everything that you have, like your life depends on it. And, I talked about, this guy who's in denial, and I have nothing against him. But I can tell he is not committed he's not completely 100% committed to his growth yet, because he's still in denial, because he says he knows at some point I'm going to tell him, I've already told him to go get therapy, to stop screwing around trying to figure out intellectually what she wants, because that's your unconscious way of trying to tell yourself that she still wants you, and you're setting yourself up to get hoovered. Even, and I tell him the only way out of that is therapy, coda, and meditation. He doesn't want to hear that, so he says to me, and this whole giant thing, there's one sentence where he says, I don't have a therapist, I can't afford it. Anyway, back to the borderline. So she did this, and then she did that, and then she did this. What is it she really wanted? That's his denial. I know, because I have it. I have that same denial that he does. And I, to the best of my ability, I treat it like my life is on the line, because it is. And I work that stuff. I do those 12 steps. I talk to my therapist. I go to group. I meditate and practice every day like my life depends on it, because it does. I'm telling you, I give you those 3 things. That's not, here's 3 things. You can do these 3 things. They're all free. And if you do them, you'll be, let me, here. I was wanting to use this example. Now I finally have an excuse. To this guy and to any other person who gives me any kind of bullshit about how they can't do therapy, or they don't want to go to CODA meetings because they don't want the higher power thing, or, any kind of denial-laced bullshit like that. After I've already told them it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it'll save your life, they still, I can't. But if I said to you, hey, I've got a secret. I know this guy. Now, he lives on the North Pole, but he can look at you and tell you exactly what one phrase you should say to your borderline that'll make them love you forever. You would be quitting your job and stealing money from a bank to get your ass to the North Pole to figure out what that one phrase was. You would do anything to get your borderline to love you. And you wouldn't stop. How do I know that? Because you married them. You dated them. You dealt with every single possible horrific devaluation, and you still kept going back for more. And yet, the therapy, I can't afford it. I can't find one. And the CODA, they talk all this stuff, and and I don't know. I had to stop going because I just want to have the borderline devour me for lunch. I'm telling you, this denial thing, it kills people. I have to make fun of it because we have to laugh at it. This is how serious it is. So you find it impossible to meditate. Any tips I could look into chakra? So I've given you all the tips that I can. If you go to the Thunder Wizard or you go to my other link, I have all kinds of things that you can take a look at and try them out. There's no shortage of things. Point is, don't stop. You don't like that form of meditation? Try another one. You don't like that form of meditation? Try the yoga. You don't like that? Try the Tai Chi. In fact, just trying different things will do something for you. But don't stop until you find the one that helps you. Your life depends on it. All right, let's see if there's a question or something that I want to respond to. Helen Vinocor question. While we were living together, I'm assuming you're borderline, I was waking up between the hours of 3 and 5 every night right before I moved out after a huge blowout. Was this an awakening? Well, why do you moved out, right? Right before I moved out. So you moved out. That's all that matters to me. You got out. You sound like you made a choice. On the one hand, I want to support you in that. On the other hand, people they spiritualize things and they get caught up in, am I awake? Who gives a crap if you're awakened or if you're asleep? I don't want to, I have a whole channel devoted to spirituality, and I don't, I'm woke now. And a lot of the majority of people that I run into who talk about I'm awake, or my Kundalini awoke a year ago, or I became woke last year. They tend to be the most, in denial, still wrapped up in their narcissism people that I've met. So the whole thing about awakening is that awakening is a process. You were awakening when you were with the borderline. You've been awakening your whole life. It's just accept that that's part of it. You don't need to put a label on yourself to be okay. Like before I was screwed up, but now I've had an awakening. I don't like that. It doesn't mean that you didn't. I don't think that label is helpful. There's a reason why the Alcoholics Anonymous or the Narcotics Anonymous programs or the Codependence Anonymous, there's a reason why they're anonymous. There's a reason why people can't go publicly. And interestingly enough, like in the Alcoholics Anonymous program, to my knowledge, every person that has publicly gone out and said, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, remember Richard Pryor? Is he still alive? I think he died. Richard Pryor was notorious for, he went into Alcoholics Anonymous and he was working the 12 steps and he ended up, getting back on drugs, and it was, that whole thing of applying it to your ego, I'm woke, I'm this, all that, I don't think that's helpful. So while I don't want to take that away from you, the whole point of your question is, was that an awakening? It makes me want to get into that part of you that needs to feel validated. I was awakening. Of course you were. Having said that, the hours of 3 to 5 are, for some traditions, is the most spiritual time. That's why yogis get up at 4:30 every morning and they meditate and chant before the sun comes up. The idea is that the angle of the sun hitting the earth at that time, just before sunrise, the couple hours before sunrise, is supposedly, the best time, etc., etc. So, having said all of that, that does sound like there could have been a spiritual awakening for you. All right. Point is that, now it got you out, and now that you're out, can you stay out and can you heal? It's really all that matters. Whether you had an awakening or not, I don't know. I have nothing against you having an awakening. Let's see what else. Evo. If meditation doesn't work, try something else. Okay, she's just helping other people. Hecate Astarte, question. Did every codependent had caregivers with narcissistic tendencies? I'm trying to figure out what went wrong in my childhood that made me codependent, and I cannot find anything apart from a controlling mother. That's all you need. I've run into this a few times. People saying, you've said this and this, but, I had a good childhood and I love my parents. Look, I don't know. I don't have a problem with, your parents were wonderful and there was something else that made you codependent. I'm really not attached to that. My experience is that if I dig enough, like if, you come to me and you say one of those people, no, I've got a great relationship. I love my parents. I go and see them every Christmas and we get along and we sing Christmas carols and we bake cookies. And, I'm pretty sure that if I sit down with you and I ask you enough questions, I'm going to find something. Now, maybe that just means that everybody's got something, but my experience is there's usually something. A lot of times what you'll find with codependence is that it skips, like there's the huge dysfunction will skip a generation. So, in fact, there was one girl I dated in college. Now that I look back on it, what I've found out, she's pretty screwed up. But she seemed perfect. I mean, she didn't have any problems. Her parents were great and perfect. She had a perfect, I'm using the word perfect for a reason. She had a perfect childhood, a perfect home. They weren't alcoholic. They weren't abusive. They were really nice. They invited me over for dinner and we talked, and they were very educated and smart, and they treated me really well, and I was part of the family and all that. And this chick was so freaking codependent and so had so many borderline tendencies. It was really, she wasn't a borderline, but holy crap, she was a nutbag. And her parents were perfect, and her relationship with her parents were perfect. It just means that and if you say you had a controlling mother, that's all it takes. If your mother's controlling enough, your mother's controlling you for a reason. It means that she's not okay. She's not comfortable within herself, and she is using you. I don't need for you to have a horrifically painful, traumatic childhood. But I'm willing to bet that there was, at the very least, There was a perception on your part that your relationship was transactional. Controlling mothers don't love you unconditionally. They control your behavior. That's the transaction. I'll love you if you do exactly what I say. That's not, I see you for who you are and I love you for who you are. So that's enough. Codependence is controlling. Codependents are controlling. Their love, when they love the borderline, that is an act of control. They're trying to control the borderline to get them not to split so that they'll love them back. They think if I really love you this time, if I really pour my love out on them this time, they'll give me what I want. It's controlling, it's transactional. So I honestly can't say, but again, my experience says that at some point, there was, like I said, it skips a generation. So maybe your parents are fine, but in the case of the chick I talked about in college, who ended up being really just so crazy, jealous, and screwed up and abusive and controlling, it turned out that both of her parents were children of alcoholics. So they're codependent right there, and they were perfect, literally, at being perfect. And they did everything just right, and you couldn't see on the surface, is like so shiny, clean, and perfect. You couldn't see that underneath that was this emptiness and this lack of connection and this, this decaying, this black hole. But everybody's dressed to the nines and everything's perfect, and there's no, nothing's wrong in our family. And that's the transaction, to be perfect and never do anything wrong. Doesn't mean they yelled and screamed, doesn't mean they beat you with belts, but they didn't love you. I don't know if that's true for you or not, but that's something to think about. Stainless fishing, I was with, what does that mean? Quote. I was, quote, with, unquote, a borderline for the last, oh, I get it. You were with them. You're never really with a borderline. No matter how, even if you're alone with them in a cabin for a year, you're never with them. I get it. I was with a borderline for the last 9 months. I had no idea what was going on, but knew it wasn't reasonable behavior. Okay. I thought I could reason with this girl. Long story short, everything you've said in your videos has hit the nail directly on the head for me. It's helped me so much to understand this. So I'm glad to hear that. I've given up wanting this girl to love me, but I still have love for her. All right, so you just lied to me. I know you believe your lie, but you just lied to me. I've given up wanting this girl to love me. All right, so now you have become the martyr. You've become the martyr now. So you're still in your transactional codependent relationship. You've gone further. You have shown her so much love now that now you've given up that she's ever going to love me. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. What do you think that's in there? I mean, the Jesus character is just the ultimate codependent. He's going to control you with guilt. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. You've given up wanting this girl to love you, but I still have love for her. Listen, I'm making fun of you, but look, that's not accurate. You still desperately want her to love you. You're giving up wanting this girl to love you is, you're losing hope, but you want her to see that. You want her to see, oh my God, he's finally given up, he's going to die, and she's going to swoop in and love you. Come on, I've been there. You can tell yourself this story, but I'm not going to believe you. Let's get honest here. That dying on the cross, instead of breaking down and sobbing over the fact that she doesn't love you. It's horrible. It's your mom. She's representing your mom, probably. And how horrible your mom didn't love you. Your mom must have programmed you to be the martyr. Maybe she was a martyr. I don't know. but I still have love for her. I will never go back. But I want to tell her what she's got so she can work towards healing. But should I bother? No. Move on, man. I mean, if you want to, if you're not in contact with her, let it go. If you're living with her and, you're on your way out and you're going to tell her you're getting out, then you say, I think you need to look at borderline personality disorder. And then get out before they have a chance to respond, because their response is their business. Your job is just to drop the seed. But if you're already out, stay the fuck out, man. Don't get back in that. Don't wade back in the water with the shark. Oh, but no, the shark, I have to tell the shark. No, the shark wants to eat you. Get the fuck out. Should I bother? No, you should not bother. You should go to your therapist and tell him exactly what you just wrote there. And you should ask your therapist, you should talk to your fucking therapist about that. You should not die on the cross and let it die with you. You should talk to somebody about it. Talk to your sponsor, whatever. Benny Pickerel, I just ended a 15-year friendship with a borderline. That should be in quotes. Was it sexual? That's my question. Did you have the promise of a romantic relationship? Because if so, then it wasn't a friendship. Maybe you called it a friendship. Maybe she called it a friendship. A friendship means just that you're friends with somebody. I have friends, and I don't need anything from them. They don't need anything from me. If I'm going to take off for a month, my friend go, okay, see ya. But if you're in a relationship with somebody, and you say, I'm taking off for a month, they go, a month? I would say that. My girlfriend, my wife, taking off for a month, I'd say, a month? I don't want you to go for a month. I need you. I love you. That's not a friendship. That's a relationship. So I have my doubts that your friendship is a friendship. I just ended a 15-year friendship, a 15-year. I mean, and I don't, if you have a friend, you don't count the years. I mean, I've had friends since childhood. If somebody asked me, how long have you known? I'd have to go, I know, you count the years of relationship. I've been dating this girl for 3 years. I was with her for 15 years. I was with her for 5 years. We had a friendship. So come on. I mean, everything in this is telling me that she's not your friend. At the very least, you want more. At the very least. She refuses to admit she has any issues. Of course, she's got a mental illness, and part of that mental illness is denial. It doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you that it means you don't understand that she's a borderline? If you understood she was a borderline, it wouldn't shock you that she's in denial. After learning about BPD for months, I can now see her projections, twisting words, and manipulation. Never think you can help a borderline who does not acknowledge she has issues. Okay. What I am gonna give you a thumbs up for is you just ended the relationship. So congratulations. Now break off all contact. Make sure she has no way of contacting you again. And get your ass to a therapist and to a 12-step meeting and start meditating. Otherwise, the shark will come looking for you. Or another shark will pop up, take her place. Let's see, what else? Stainless fishing, haha, I hear you. But what I'm saying is I really do care for her. I hear you. So fucking what? Why are you telling me that? I've given up wanting her to love me, but I still care for her. I mean, are you telling me something I haven't experienced myself? I mean, do you think I don't know what it means to say those things? I'm telling you, what you're experiencing is you're not out yet. You're not awake yet, as somebody said. You're not awake yet. You're still in your denial. That love that you think you have for her is not love. The healing will come when you can see that what you thought was love really isn't your love. You can't be with a borderline and have true, consistent love for them, nor they for you. That's what makes it the codependent borderline non-borderline relationship. I'm not trying to diminish the intensity of your feelings, nor am I trying to take away your ability to love. I'm sure you're very capable of loving. But the fact is, it's not love when you keep showing up for somebody who keeps hurting you. You can't love somebody and choose to be a victim. You can't. The only way that you can choose to be a victim is if you yourself have selfish, narcissistic projections onto them that you experience as these intense feelings of love. It's not true love. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why you're this martyr. It's how I know. I already know. Because if you really loved her, you'd go, you know what, man? She really needs help. And I am not helping her. Oh my God, I've been so selfish. She needs help and she's addicted to me and when she's a borderline. Wow. I mean, the last thing I should do is have anything to do with her. That's love. I stopped wanting her to love me. I still love her. That's not love. That's narcissistic projection. Because the borderline relationship is not the same. You know, look, I'm trying to find her. This here was the love of my life. That's me. I don't know how many, I think 5 years ago. This is me and her 5 years ago. That was the love of my life. That was love. Did I mourn about her loss? You have no idea. It was horrific. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as being destroyed by the borderline. The pain I went through from the borderline devaluation was worse. Why am I saying that to you? Because if it's real love, there's a healing that can happen. There's a way that you can heal and move on. It's painful, it destroys you, but it makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying I understood death. There was a point where I was like, where is she and all that. But it's still within this realm of it makes sense, and you can heal and move on. You never really get over that loss. But that keep going back for the having them do this to you and then to pour out like they like it's like, you know, like a balloon, you know, and they sort of, you know, they found the you know, whatever, some kind of inflated thing, and they pop the thing and the air comes out. That's what you're doing. Your love is just all the air being sucked out of you, and you can't stop, and you just keep giving and giving and giving, and there's no consciousness and no control and no awareness. I mean, even you say it there. I've given up hope of her ever loving me, but I still love her. I mean, you have no control over all this love that's being pulled out of you. It's not love. And maybe you don't know that yet because you haven't been in recovery long enough. When my borderline devalued me, it was a different pain, so don't get me wrong. I mean, the loss of my fiance was, you know, it almost killed me. But the pain of the devaluation of the borderline was much more malignant. There's a good word for it. And I was sure that I wasn't going to recover. I even say it, I think, in some of my earlier videos on this channel. You can hear me say, I think I'm broken. I'm not broken anymore. I look back with 20/20 vision on that relationship, and I'm telling you, I didn't love her. I'm not judging myself. I didn't hate her. I wasn't consciously abusing her. But it wasn't love. It was all projection. It wasn't real. That doesn't mean it doesn't feel real, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't feel like it's killing you. But it's not love. Because, what's happened with, my fiance who passed away similar scenario. She left me, she died, etc., etc. It almost destroyed me. But there comes this time where you pull yourself together and then you start remembering the good times. You become grateful for the fact that you had, whatever you had with them and it was real. There's a closure that happens. There's this feeling of, I hope that she's happy wherever she is and I can't wait to see her again. You know what I mean? That never happens with the borderline. In other words, there's closure. You never get that with the borderline. With the borderline, there's never this feeling of, I hope she's good and I hope she's okay. There's like, why isn't she hoovering me? And when is she going to get help and then pull me back into her life? And, there's always those feelings. There's never this feeling of just seeing them where they're at. If you're in that space of I love them, but she'll never love me back. There's no seeing them where they're at and going, yeah, I would love to run into them. And I don't want to run into my borderline ex. I don't ever want to see her again. Doesn't mean that I don't have true love and compassion for her, but I can tell you now, I do have love for her now. I love her unconditionally now. I want nothing from her. I'm not angry with her. I don't feel cheated. I totally get why she did everything that she did, and I understand it. I would do the same thing in her position under those conditions. And I would, if I could snap my fingers and, if whatever I would do, and without me seeing her, if it took me $5,000, I would go find $5,000 and send it anonymously. If that would fix her and make her healthy and happy, I'd do it. I wouldn't want her to see me though. I don't want anything from her. I don't want anything from her. I have no agenda on her anymore. You have an agenda. You say you've given up, but it doesn't mean that you don't desperately want her to love you. Make sense? If you do the work, you'll heal and you'll be able to look back and you'll chuckle and you'll go, yeah, I was in a lot of pain, but I didn't really love her. Doesn't mean that you weren't loving. Doesn't mean that you didn't have loving feelings. You didn't really love her because you wouldn't have stayed with her if you did. If you really loved her, you would have gone, wow, this is really sad and pathetic and horrible, and I got to get out for her sake. If not for my sake, for her sake, I got to get the hell out. All right, what else? Stainless fishing. All right, so one thing that doesn't help you is doubling down. I can't convince you of this, but trust me, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you're feeling because I felt it. And I know, being a good codependent that you are, you really want me to understand you and you hate the idea of being mistaken. I want all the codependents to listen to me because this is definitely a codependent trait. When somebody doesn't understand us, or when somebody misjudges us or thinks badly of us, we are obsessed with getting them to, no, you don't understand. No, that's not what I meant. No, I'm a good person. Don't think badly of me. I don't think badly of you, Stainless Fishing. I don't think badly of you at all. I assume you're a guy. You're my brother. I'm right there with you, man. I am walking with you on the battlefield, and I am carrying you off the battlefield with you. I'm right there with you. I have no judgment whatsoever of what you're going through, but I know exactly what you're going through. I feel it. I can tell by the words that you use. Even though, I misspoke, I know exactly what's going on. So if you can, I can't force you to do this. It's okay with me if you can't, but if you can, just sit with what I'm saying. Let it be okay. Just let it be okay that maybe I'm misunderstanding you. And just sit with it and go, I wonder if what he's saying is true. Let it sink in. You can pick up, your opinion of me later and decide that I didn't understand you later. You know that my intentions are good, so that's good enough. But, try the idea that maybe I do know what you're saying, and maybe I do know something you don't about where you're at. Try that and see if that helps. Again, who gives a crap what I think? Do the 3 things. That's the only thing that matters. Therapy, 12 steps with a sponsor and CODA, or your 12-step program of your choice, and daily meditation. And over time, you can heal. No, stainless fishing, you're not talking about compassion. I'm not saying that that isn't part of your feelings, but trust me, that's not. I've given up her loving me and I still care about her. It's not compassion. It's too early. It's not compassion yet. I know it feels that way, but I personally don't think that's what that is. If it's pain, here's another way. If the love that you have, if the compassion that you have causes you pain, it's not compassion. True compassion, there's no pain. I mean, it's one thing to have pity on somebody, in a healthy way. And when I say about her and I go, it must be horrible, it makes me very sad to think about it. I mean, it doesn't pain me. I have no pain about her anymore. And I don't say that like I'm apathetic. I'm filled with love and compassion, but it is truly unconditional. It is full of love and compassion, but there's no pain there. But if I've given up her loving me and I still love her, I still have compassion for her. If there's pain in there, it's projection. That's a good thing to think about. Whenever you love somebody and you're filled with pain, filled with a desire, I have to love this person, I have to give them love, there's a good chance that it's projection. It's your pain about not being loved. Your compassion for her is the compassion you wish somebody could give to you, which I actually am giving you, although I'm not nearly as exciting. All right, what else? All right, Evo has some good advice then. All right. Okay, very good. All right, I think that's enough for tonight. I'm glad people showed up. I enjoyed it. Click the join button. If the join button doesn't work, scroll down to the whatever the hell that is, the description of the video, and there should be a link there. Click on that. Join at the super empath level if you want access to the members only videos where I teach you the meditations and a bunch of other stuff. And if you want to go even further, go to the 90-day challenge at thunderwizard.com. Click around until you get to the Warrior 90-day challenge. I created both of those things. When people ask, where do I go? What should I look for? I created those things so that people didn't have to go looking and they could take it from somebody who learned how to do it. Like you want to become Mr. Olympia, go train with somebody who became Mr. Olympia. Listen to them. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do. I tell you exactly what I do. You don't want to do the way I do it? Great. You can do it on your own. I'm okay with that too. All right. All right. That's it for me, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll see you all when I see you. See, what do I want? I want this.